Allie. Thank you so much for coming today and joining us and sharing your wisdom on what it really takes to make it in business. So I just want to start off with tell us a little bit about what your online business is.
Yeah, well, first of all, hi. It's so good to talk with you today.
Awesome.
My business, it's had a lot of iterations over the years, but what I've really focused on is helping women rebuild self-worth and recultivate self-love because for me, it's so important. I really think it's the foundation for feeling good in life and feeling like we have the confidence to create, live, and love on our own terms and feel like we actually deserve it. So I really focus on helping women recultivate that sense of self and workshops and online programs and online coaching, all that good stuff that kind of bundles into it. But that's kind of the core of what I do.
That's awesome. And how many years have you been in this business?
Yeah, so it's been now about 4 years. It's been 2 full time, which is awesome, and I can't believe I get to do this every day, and it's really exciting. But 4 years total. The first couple years, I did it part time after my corporate job. I would do the 9 to 5 grind all day, and then I would come home and see clients and talk to people on Skype and all that good stuff. And so it's been for 4 years total.
That's awesome. So I was going to ask you 2 questions now, actually. I wanted to know if, first of all, was this basically your first business and it succeeded over time? Or was there a business that you had started before this one that helped you learn and progress?
Yeah, so my first attempt at a business, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. My first attempt at a business is I started a website in Chicago that was essentially like health and lifestyle for women. And I would blog and write articles, and I had some sponsorship, and I would host events around the city. And I was literally just throwing things at the wall, seeing what would stick. I knew that I wanted to communicate this message and share this message out with the city and the world, but I didn't really think I was even really starting a business, but essentially it was. And what I really learned that really was the stepping stone to what I'm doing now because it got me out there and it got me comfortable with all the nuances of building a business, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It got me comfortable with allowing my voice to be heard. It got me comfortable with all the not fun stuff like the legal, the LLC, all that kind of stuff you're actually building and creating. And it helped me learn a lot. I started my newsletter. That's when I started, newsletter, blogging. I started building connection with folks. I started to really meet some future clients in that space. And then I kind of iterated to get to where I am now. But my first little project turned business was definitely
That's awesome. That's amazing. And I think that's important for people to know that often it's not just bam, here we are. There are things and skills that we learn upon the way that definitely help us. And then I just want to then go to the corporate job. Was there something there that you learned, a skill that helped your business? And if there was, what was it?
Yeah, as much as I felt initially like my world now was so different than my corporate world. I worked in the consulting world for about 6 years. What I learned in the consulting world and in corporate in general was how to be structured with my days, which when you're not an entrepreneur and you don't have someone telling you what to do, that's huge. Is to actually have structure, how to think ahead and be strategic, how to build formidable relationships, how to always put the client first, and also the legal stuff when you're building a business. I mean, you have to cover your bases and cover both protect yourself and your client and make sure that you're working in a legal agreement. So that's a big piece of it. I kind of swooped in and took all that stuff from corporate, which was huge, which I think I undervalued initially, but have been really, really important in any success I've had now, which, my life does look quite different than my previous life.
Yeah.
But that stuff was all super important along the way.
That's awesome. And I love what you said because it is so true. It's like even being able to structure your day that's a skill. And I do feel that a lot of startup entrepreneurs, they do have trouble trying to figure out how do I structure my day? How do I do things? And just to recognize that that skill is so important. I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up. And I also love that you brought up the legal part because everyone should be mindful of that to some degree. So thank you for bringing that up. That's really awesome.
You're welcome. I think that, too often we start a business and we think it is fun and it's exciting and it's creative and it's amazing because you get to do it the way you want and get to help people in the way you want. But there's so many other layers to it that we have to be mindful that the second we exchange money, we're a business. And so we have to do it the right way to protect both ourselves and the people we work with. I think that just makes good business sense.
Absolutely. And so I'll just let's go into it a little more. So what do you do personally? Do you always give like a client agreement or have people read a terms and conditions?
I do. I have it on my website, terms and agreement. I have privacy policy. I've got the client contracts, partnership agreements, like all that stuff. And it is not fun and it is not jargon that I like to speak. And the fact that I even talk about it is like, feels like, who the hell am I talking about this stuff?
I love it.
But it is a super important piece of your business, if not the most important piece. I mean, you got to protect what you care about. You're creating something that you obviously love and it's so important to you, and it's really could become your whole world. But you want to make sure that you do it in a way that is really setting yourself up for success and setting yourself up for really kind of protecting your nest egg and what you're building.
Totally. So. And I believe it also makes you look more professional, and you are then acting way more pro by putting those things into place right off the bat.
Absolutely. I mean, I know I wouldn't want to do business with someone who didn't have their, pardon my language, shit together. And so it's important. It is important because not only am I, it's not protecting yourself, it's actually being very clear on what you're delivering to someone and what the agreement is between you and your client. And I think that's great. That's great to communicate to them as well, because they want to know what they're buying or signing up for and exactly what the deliverables are and what they're going to get from you, no matter what service you're offering. And so, I think it's super, super important to have all that lined up and buttoned up when you have an exchange between two parties. So
totally. So I want to recline a little bit. So from what I heard is you actually started your business on the side and then it started to grow. So I would love for you to take us through those growing stages a little bit. Were there any growing pains? Take us through the journey just a little bit.
So starting my business for the first time, there was a lot of lessons and growing pains along the way. So when I first started, I literally thought I would slap up a website and people, were going to want to read what I have to say, and people are going to sign up for my newsletter, and it doesn't work that easy, which I learned.
Definitely.
A lot of things from the way I engage with people. I initially used to talk in like third person when I would write, like I was like some magical person behind a curtain because I thought that's what I needed to do to sound professional.
Exactly.
And that felt really uncomfortable for me the entire time through. So that was one kind of learning, is like just be myself, show up as my own voice, and people want to hear a real person. So that was one lesson I learned to when I engage with people, whether they were newsletter subscribers or people I would meet that maybe came to my events. And something I think I've really kept along the way is not engaging with people like, what can you do for me? It's really that, what can I offer you and how can I be of service to you? And I think that was such a huge, amazing lesson. And I think that served me so well ultimately, is like really treating people like people and not like how can I take something for you to build my own success? I just don't believe in that practice at all. I really think show up, create, give, and you know what? The reciprocity, people will come back into your life when you need them.
Definitely.
And then like little things I learned along the way, like I learned I was getting hosed by my web hosting company, and they were charging me hundreds of more dollars a month than I needed to pay. So, I learned that setting up an LLC it's good to have a lawyer part of the process, because you can get messy and sticky and check boxes that you don't want to check, and taxes filing. So there's like little things like that I learned along the way. How to treat people, I learned a lot along the way. what I cared about, what my message was. So I think I was trying to reach too many people initially and be too broad with my information and my topics and what I was conveying. And so realizing for me, it was like, oh, I want everyone to be healthy. I want this whole wellness spectrum. I want people to live life on their own terms, freedom, adventure, like all these big buckets of things. I was trying to reach too many people. And really when I started focusing on the self-worth building, it really honed my message. I got much more clear with my voice, and it really started to attract an audience and attract a type of person into my life that really wanted to hear what I had to say. I know I went just kind of all over the place with that.
No, I love it. So good.
Things you learn that everything from the legal piece to building a website to like how to engage with clients. I mean, there is like I could probably talk to you for like days on that kind of stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
A lot of lessons.
Yeah, I love that. I love the part about being yourself. And I don't know what you think about this, but I also believe that there are many business rules. And I believe that it's good on one hand to learn some of that background and some of that structure, but ultimately you have to do away with the rules and like just do your own thing. Do you find that that's been the path to your success as well?
Oh, yeah. I know. Gosh. I think when I started, because I didn't know much about business and starting my own business, I would look at what everyone else was doing and I would start to compare myself and am I doing enough? Am I doing it? They're doing videos. Should I do videos? They're writing blogs 3 times a week. Should I be doing that? They have a pop-up on their site. Should I have a pop-up on my site? They spend all their time on Facebook. Should I spend my time there versus Pinterest? Whatever. But what I realized is that it would become paralyzing because I wasn't listening to myself and what felt good for me and what I felt I needed to do for my own business. And so getting caught in that comparison game and the way everyone else does business can be a very slippery slope. Yeah. And I think what you need to do is really take in the information, kind of observe what practices feel good for you, implement those, and then kind of leave the rest. And I think if you listen to yourself, like what feels good and honoring your feelings through the process and really also acknowledging what feels good for the community around you, that is where success starts to happen because you get less caught up in doing things everyone else's way. You're less likely to become a cookie cutter carbon copy of everyone else.
Exactly.
And then you start to do it on your own terms and it becomes unique to you. Doesn't mean that you're not taking in amazing information from amazing teachers. Yeah. Just mean that you don't do it exactly the way everyone else does it. And that's not necessarily success. That's copycat.
Exactly. I love that you brought that up. Yeah. And I think it's super important for people to recognize. I mean, it's good to learn, but at the end of the day, you really have to call the shots. And that's what it means to be in business. You have to make your own decisions. And that's what's going to make you unique and set you apart and help you thrive. So, and I love that you also brought in comparison because that seems to happen so much, and especially I find when people are starting out, and it's like the most dangerous or like toxic thing you can get involved in. So yeah,
it really is. And one last thing I think is just really helpful to just to share is that along with paralysis of comparison, there's just like this huge fear of like rejection that comes up when you want to put your message and your gift out in the world, and you become almost scared that are people going to like me? Are people going to hear what I say? Are people going to want to stay as subscribers to my newsletters? Or are people going to want to come to my events or whatever those things are that you're doing? And I think what you have to realize is you can only create and you can only put things out there in a way that feels true to you and feels like you're honoring your gift. And not everyone's going to want to hear what you have to say, or it's not going to resonate and hit them here. And it's not a reflection of you all the time. It's just where they are in their life, and that's okay. And I think that we're so afraid of being rejected and that we take it as that we're not good enough. But a lot of times it's just what we have to say isn't resonating or sticking with the right person or the person that needs to hear it at that time. I think sorry, I'm like going on.
No, I love it. It's so important.
But I think it's important to recognize that. So one thing I have done, and it was one of the best things I've ever done for myself, because I would feel sad when people would like unsubscribe from my newsletter. That I turn off all those notifications. I don't even know who unsubscribes.
Yeah, me too.
It's kind of just ignorance is bliss. But for me, it's like I'm not that I'm ignoring it. It's more that I just recognize it's okay if people don't want to stay with me my whole journey. That hopefully I've said what I need to say and it's hit them in the right place at that time, and maybe they'll come back around or maybe they won't. And so it's just saving sanity a little bit because it's a very vulnerable place to start a business. So just protecting yourself sometimes along the way it's
Totally. And I absolutely agree. And I'm so happy that you brought that up. And I think that people also need to recognize it's like you do have to build a certain degree of resiliency and also recognize that it's not about you personally. People may just not be interested in your message or your business, and that that's actually okay. And I find it's one of the things that will even help you thrive in the end because then you really are unique and you're not just blending in. It's like, by allowing yourself to be fully you and not try to please everyone, that's where the magic is. So,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. And I think that you're able to operate from a sense of self-worth
Mhm.
and really feeling like allowing your voice to be heard without being so concerned and how about the opinions of others, which I think we can get really caught up in that game. And so it doesn't mean that people's opinions don't matter. It just means that you don't want it to stop you from creating or building something that you actually really care about.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'd love to know, and I feel like you've sort of said it, but did you do all your business online, or did you start offline and local and move online, or was it like a mixture of the two?
Yeah, so I'm still a mix of the two.
Yeah.
I'm still a mix of the two because I realized, so initially, this another iteration
Yeah.
is I started I initially built everything online.
Mhm.
And what I realized is as much as I love the online piece for automation, I love the online piece because you can reach people that you maybe necessarily couldn't just in your local environment, is I'm actually a people person.
Yeah.
And I like physical interactions and I like touch and I like to hug someone and I like to sit next to someone in a room. So I still do some in-person coaching. I still do workshops that are local because both pieces and both elements are super important to me. And so I did that. I started in person totally, then I moved completely online, and I was like, you know what? That's not what feels right for me. And so again, it was listening to myself and saying, you know what? I'm missing the people, physical, in-person element, and that's a huge piece of my business that I've baked back in. So,
and I think,
I
yeah.
both.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great lesson for people to hear. And I believe it's impossible to truly know at the start. You may not know until you do it if you actually like to be face to face or in a room giving a workshop, or if you want the workshop to happen online. And it's like, you have to do it. You've got to try both. And only then will you know which one gives you, like, feeds you, which one is more fulfilling. And sometimes it's a mix of the two, and sometimes it'll just be one or the other. And yeah. So
absolutely. And I think it's trial and error, and it's like it's listening to yourself, right? I mean, there's people who tell you all day long building an online business equals personal freedom, and there's truth to that. But it's also, is it building personal freedom at the expense of doing things the way that feels good for you? And I think you have to really be mindful of that balance and feel comfortable about what actually resonates with you and how do you feel you can best share your gift. And so, yeah, super important.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I feel if you're not happy with what you're doing or how you're doing it, then essentially you're not like really free, because I don't think that freedom is just about, oh, there's the dog, just about like living anywhere on the planet. It's like freedom's really about like that happiness.
Yeah. My dog is probably going to bark in a second because my neighbor just came home.
That's okay. Dogs are good. That's awesome.
I apologize.
No, it's good. It adds more flavor. Yeah. I'd love to get into some nitty gritty details. So, and you've mentioned a few of the details, things you've done, but what has helped you the most? So is it blogging? Is it, meeting with people and doing workshops? Like, what exactly has helped your business grow the most?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, being consistent with some sort of online content is huge. That's been a big piece. It's something I struggled with initially. I think part of it is I was afraid to continue to put stuff out there. It was scary. It was felt a little overwhelming, and like, wow, I have to make myself vulnerable every single week and put out a piece of work that's coming from my heart, and so it feels very overwhelming, and it can feel a little scary. But that has, when I kind of jumped past that little hurdle of being terrified, that's been huge because I think it's really given my readers and clients an insight into what I care about and who I am. So that's been one really big piece. The second for me was workshops, because I realized I really, really love that element. And I love being in person with people. And I feel like when I started to actually do more workshops and have that in-person experience, it's cultivated this sense of community. And it's really, I think I've had direct feedback on how maybe I can help folks, and how maybe my message is landing on people, and how not only me, because I don't know everything, but it's like, am I able to build a community of people who can help each other and can support each other, and can we have meaningful dialogue, and can we do great exercises and activities that help us move closer to the self-worth piece. And so those, being in person, seeing that was so crucial. I'm just a hands-on visual person, so that was a big piece. And then I think another piece of which is being, I was so hands-on involved in the design of my website. I actually designed it myself. I didn't do the coding or any of that stuff. I don't know. I always joke, I was like, I wish I was like an engineer or like a computer architect in some like past life, because I like love all that stuff, but I don't know how to do it. But I actually did all the design element. I created stuff on Photoshop. That was really important for me, because I wanted to feel like my site was my home, and it was an expression of myself, and that people could read my, about me section, or even the colors I used, or the images, or the little silly comments I make along the way, and really feel like they knew me without always knowing me. And so that was really important, because I wanted to make that the best expression of who I was and what I cared about, in a way that could resonate with people. Because I think if you don't take the time to build an experience, or build a place where people feel comfortable, or feel welcome, or feel like they know who you are, then you can lose people right there.
I love that. And I love the way that you said it, that you're building an experience. And, I love that you call it your home, because I also consider my website my virtual home. And it's so true, and to put that time and care. But I love that you say that has helped you and your business grow. Like, that's amazing. So I know you do local things, but do you also go to like networking events? Or do you network online, offline, or how do you play that game?
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest. The word network makes me skin crawl.
Nice. Okay.
And I think because there's some connotation that it's like this throwing out business cards and here's who I am. Let's see what we can make happen together.
Yeah.
And, what can I get from you? And it's very artificial. What I've actually done. So I meet a lot of people online through like Twitter and Facebook, and just get to know people. Really no other exchange outside of, hey, tell me about what's going on in your world, what's going on in my world. Let's become buddies. How can we support each other? And then if we find that there's some sort of partnership there, that's awesome. That's amazing. So I've really, really tried to meet people and engage with people for the sake of just that, without what can it do for me? Obviously it's always great to meet people who you feel like there's a good potential to relationship with, but I really try to make that the last part of the story for myself.
Awesome.
But what I have done, just really, community is so important to me. I actually do something, and maybe someone wants to steal this idea in their own hometown, but I do something called, I do a blissed out book club and a brunch club, which I have on my website, which is just free and open to anyone. And I invite people into my home, and we discuss awesome books. And the other one, we do a potluck style brunch once a month. And it has brought so many random, fun, cool people into my life. And there's no business card sharing aspect to it. It's just really bringing people that are similar minded together and who want to actually be part of a fun community, maybe over great food or maybe over a good story. And I really feel like that's been a huge piece of my business from a local perspective, and really just building my community that way. And it's done without that intention, but it's really fostered some really good relationships and just friendships. And but yeah, networking, I don't really go to networking events.
Yeah.
I try to just build relationships with people and do it in a way that feels sincere and meaningful. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I've actually heard quite a few people talk about that. It is all about the relationships and like real relationships, not just like an event where you're trying to get each other's cards. I feel what you've done is really innovative. And do you just like, you tell friends to invite friends, or do you put an ad out, or?
No, it's been word of mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, I got like about 40 people in my
Oh
home,
my.
ran a random assortment of people, well, it was once a week, and now it's like a bi-weekly. So it's either, the book club or the brunch club, so every other week I've got just a herd of people come through the door. I'm Italian. I always love having people in the house. I mean, that's a big piece of just who I am as a person. But it's really it just spread word of mouth. So
that's
amazing.
That's,
that's not my $1 million idea or anything like that. But it's
kind of.
Fun, it's a really fun way to just build a cool community of people and just friendships, and it's literally just grown organically. And I have a book club this month, and one woman's coming in from Ohio with her girlfriend to come to it, which is just really fun and random and cool, and so it's kind of spreading beyond. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna have people like flying in from Hawaii to come or anything, but it's been really fun in the organic growth.
That is amazing. I love that you do that, and I think that's also an amazing idea for people that would be interested in that. It's just, that's incredible. So I'd like to go back to, if you can take us through, especially the online sales. I feel when people are first starting out, it seems so like novel, and like, how is someone going to pay you online? It's like, how do you go from that first online dollar to, making enough money that you're actually like free, like your business is really supporting you? What was that like for you?
Oh gosh, it was shocking when it first started to happen. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I would see that success with other business owners, and it's hard to envision it for myself because I was so used to a steady corporate income, and that was how I defined success initially. Was I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I grew up with a single mom, and so I worked really, really hard to pay for my own college, to get scholarships, to get a good job, to financially support myself, and I'd never had anyone's help. And I was scared out of my mind when I entertained the thought of leaving that stability to create an online business. Like, what the hell does that even look like? How am I going to get paid? Who the hell is going to pay me online? Like, all of those questions kind of rang through my head. So the idea that I could get paid from that piece of the business was mind-blowing. But for me, I think it's part of it is creating, is putting things out there, and really getting your product or idea out into the world and sharing it with folks. I mean, people aren't necessarily just going to stumble across your site and just buy stuff or buy coaching or buy whatever that you're offering. So I think you really have to, one is create, two is to kind of share your message, and then also like on your site or whatever you're sharing, like in a way that really resonates with people and is really open and vulnerable, and with the mindset of how can I support and help someone else? Because I think it's not about you at the end of the day. Yeah, sure, it's great to get paid and it's great to make a good living, and I support all of that, but it really is, when you have just that mentality, that's really going to become a roadblock. When you can really think about how I can create and give love and give my knowledge or wisdom or my ideas to someone else, I mean, that's, I think, where it's kind of the idea of abundance, and that's where you start to make your money, and that's where the world kind of works in your favor, is when you put it out there and in a way that's very loving, and I think that's where people want to support you. So
I love that, and I think it's also really refreshing to hear that, and just how important it is to create. So I love that you brought that up. So tell us, like, what's a typical day look like for you, if there are typical days, or how do you set it all up?
Oh gosh, so a typical day, they're so atypical, but I do try to have structure every day. So I am an old-fashioned pencil and paper kind of gal. So I have my little to-do list of the things that I want to do and really try to prioritize. I have like all my ideas or things I'm working out, and I find that I am the most effective and the most productive when I break things down into really, really small little tasks for the day. So that's kind of the first thing I do, is like, what do I need to do today? How do I break things down in the simplest way so I feel like I'm accomplishing and doing and moving the needle a little bit, versus feeling like overwhelmed by all these things that I'm doing, because that could just become paralyzing. It's like, there's so much to do.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're starting out, like, odds are you don't have like a virtual assistant and like, a social media marketer and all these like fancy things. So, I mean, you're doing it yourself and you have to do it in a way that feels very easy and comfortable. So I kind of start there. And then I do little spurts. So the first thing I'll do is I'll try to write something before I dive into my email. I'll try to create something, or maybe I'll, create a graphic, or something that I feel is meaningful, that will actually make me feel accomplished for the day before I dive into the sea of email that can be a beast. Mm-hmm. And then I really try to integrate things that I care about throughout the day. So I walk my dog, I maybe do yoga, I maybe go get coffee or lunch with a friend, maybe I'll sit and read for a little bit. So I try to weave that throughout my day, but I give myself, a good chunk of time where I'm actually working and creating. And that is, I think, so important to schedule that in first, because it's so easy to keep pushing that off. So I would say wake up and the first thing you do, aside from, going to the bathroom and getting some tea or whatever, is literally do something that makes you feel accomplished. That's what I try to do, because then I'm not so stressed that the whole day I'm like wasting my time, or I'm not making things happen, or doing things in a meaningful way. So, but other than that, my day looks no 2 days look remarkably the same.
Yeah, and I mean, that's part of the fun, but I love that you said that, and I think it's really important for people to hear, like, every day create something, even, and I don't know if this is what you mean, but even if it's a blog post, or even if it's like, some pretty, I don't know what the name is right now, but something pretty, like an icon that you would put up on Facebook with like an inspiring message, or like just create something so you've put that out, and then you can get to all the other stuff. And I think that that's important, because, I mean, the worst feeling is feeling like the day's been wasted and yet you're still tired. You feel like you worked and no work got done. And
And I think part of that, and I know I said it initially, is really breaking down the beast of tasks that you might have to do into just small little baby parts, because they all matter and they all will help to get the big project done. I mean, I do my workshop again, and I feel like I have so much to do, and it can be so overwhelming, but I just sit down, okay, well, what can I do today? What's one little small thing I could do to like first thing in the morning to make me feel like I have accomplished something toward my big beast of a goal. So it's important to do that, because it's otherwise we procrastinate and we get overwhelmed, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, and I also love that you said that you take time and you walk your dog and you take care of yourself and you'll practice yoga or whatever it is. I agree. It's so important, because I don't believe good work happens in 8 or 10 hours straight. Like, the mind does not work that way. It's like by taking a break, you actually become more efficient. Do you? Yeah.
Oh gosh, I would never be able to operate any other way. I mean, I feel like I have the attention sometimes of like a fly, and I hop from thing to thing, and I need a little break. I also will set timers for myself, and I'll work for like 20 minutes, and then I give myself like 15 minutes to do whatever the hell I want. Because being home, you also, for me, working from home, I also have the added pressure of looking at the stack of laundry and the dishes in the sink and needing to make dinner and all those other things that are just part of life. So those things have to get fit into my day as well. I just try to do something really meaningful first, so that those other things can happen without like feeling anxious or like I'm not actually doing stuff for my business.
Totally. That's so smart and so great and really key. So thank you for saying that. And so before we close, I just want to know, is there any like final advice or wisdom or something you'd want to share, especially to like a startup or struggling entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think a couple things. One is don't stop creating. It doesn't matter if you think people have said it 100 different ways, or if the ideas that you have feel like regurgitations of someone else. Put it out there, because it's more important that you share your wisdom and gift, and no one has ever said it your way. So your voice and your ideas and your creations are going to hit someone in a way that that resonates in a way that someone else might not. So keep on creating. I think the second is just reiterating to don't get paralyzed by other people's successes. Just really let that inspire you, and let that excite you, and also let it really remind you that you can go out and do things your way and be a success on your own terms. And then, gosh, the final thing is don't stop, don't quit. It's frustrating. You'll come up against things that are challenging and overwhelming, and maybe you won't get as big a sales as you thought you would, or maybe you will feel overwhelmed by social media, or maybe you will run into legal troubles, and all these things will be hiccups along the way. But if you really feel passionate about the business you're creating and you really want to create a life alongside that, then keep pushing forward and keep pushing through it, and you will learn and you will grow and you will get better and you will be more successful. And it's staying committed and persevering, and that's the hardest part. Is I think just to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. The commitment and the perseverance and to keep going, that is so important. And thank you. And so tell us, where can we find more of your awesomeness?
Oh, well, aside from this solar eclipse that's right now,
yeah.
So my website's AllieLeFevere.com, and been working on some really cool, fun stuff lately. Doing another workshop around self-worth and body image, and that's been really fun. And some group coaching, and working on some online programs and retreats and all that fun stuff. And it's all on my website. And if you're in the Chicago area and you want to come hang with me, brunch club and book club and all that other fun stuff too. But yeah, and then I always love when people, just shoot me an email. I try to respond to every single one. Just love to hear from folks and to know what's going on in their world. So yeah, that's where you find me.
That's awesome. Allie, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom. And I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and you're doing awesome stuff. So you keep up the good work too.
Awesome. All right. Bye.
Bye.